Good morning, friends, colleagues, and fellow travelers on this remarkable journey we call leadership. I'm Simon Sinek, and I am genuinely honored to be here with you today. Thank you for the investment you've made, not merely of your time and money, but of your attention, your emotional bandwidth, and perhaps your hope that the next 90 minutes might offer something useful, something catalytic, something that reconnects you to the reason you first chose to lead. So settle in, grab your notebook, your favorite pen, and maybe the courage tucked into the inside pocket of your blazer. We're going to talk about visionary steps in uncertain times, and we're going to do it in a way that is practical, personal, and I hope profoundly human, setting the stage why we need a new conversation about vision. When I began researching leadership nearly 2 decades ago, uncertainty was already part of the landscape. But since then, volatility has become less a weather pattern and more the climate itself. Pandemics, geopolitical tensions, rapidly evolving technology, generational shifts. These forces converge into what strategists politely call VUCA, a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous environment. If you're sitting here thinking, Simon, we know all this, our inbox is a masterclass in curveballs, you're right, yet naming the chaos is not the same as navigating it. Some leaders respond to uncertainty by doubling down on control, micromanaging budgets, policing processes, worshipping quarterly metrics with the fervor of medieval monks, copying scripture. Others retreat, postponing critical decisions, waiting for the fog to lift. But history smiles on a third kind, the leaders who choose to see fog as a feature, not a flaw, who step forward when the map is blank and the path unclear. These are the visionary leaders. And visionary leadership, contrary to myth, is not a genetic gift bestowed at birth. It is a discipline, a muscle we can exercise, refine, and yes, sometimes tear and rebuild stronger. Vision in uncertain times is neither optimism nor blind faith. It is a deliberate, rigorous ability to see possibilities through uncertainty, not around it. A personal story, the fork in my own road. Permit me a short personal anecdote. Years ago, before Start With Why found its way into airport bookstores, I was running a small consultancy in New York. We were hemorrhaging clients after the 2008 financial crisis. Overnight, retainer contracts evaporated. I sat alone in my tiny office, wondering whether anyone would still pay to hear me talk about inspiration when they were busy trying to keep the lights on. The temptation to pivot into something safe was immense. Then I remembered a conversation with a Marine Corps general who told me, the job of a leader is not to climb the hill, it is to point to the hill worth climbing. In that moment, I realized my team didn't need guarantees. They needed clarity of direction. I gathered them and said, we help people find their why, especially when times are tough. If there were ever a moment our work mattered, it's now. So we are staying the course, but we will get creative about how we deliver. That decision, anchored in vision rather than fear, didn't prevent hardship, but it transformed hardship into adventure. We experimented with webinars back when that was still a novelty. We offered free workshops to cash-strapped nonprofits, trusting reciprocity. We bet on purpose, and purpose paid us back in traction, loyalty, and ultimately growth. 3. The Golden Circle revisited. Why, how, what in a world turned upside down. Many of you know my Golden Circle model. Why at the center, how in the middle ring, what on the outside. In predictable environments, people will follow a competent what, but in unpredictable environments, only a compelling why can keep them engaged. Here's why. Uncertainty erodes extrinsic motivators, bonuses shrink, titles lose cachet, perks disappear. What remains is intrinsic motivation, the feeling of being part of something larger than ourselves. Take NASA in the 1960s. No one had landed on the moon before. They couldn't guarantee how it would happen. What kept thousands of scientists, engineers, and janitors alike working nights and weekends was President Kennedy's why. We choose to go to the moon not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Compare that to a run-of-the-mill corporate memo, increase market share by 3.2% this fiscal year. Which message reaches the limbic brain where decisions actually happen? Which one will people bleed for? If your vision does not stir emotion, it will not survive uncertainty. Full stop. 4. Tactics for crafting vision when the future is blurry. Let's get tactical. Here are 4 practices I've seen visionary leaders consistently apply. Zoom out, then in. Begin with the furthest horizon you can imagine, 10, 20, even 50 years. Describe that world in vivid, sensory language. Then zoom back to this quarter and ask, what is the one courageous move we must make now to advance toward that horizon? This tension between long-term aspiration and short-term action creates momentum. Anchor vision in values, not metrics. Metrics change, values and Patagonia's value, we are in business to save our home planet. remains relevant whether the stock market is up or down. When circumstances shift, they pivot. The how: recycling programs, conscious consumer campaigns, garment repair, but never the why. Co-create the picture. Vision imposed from on high rarely sticks. Great leaders invite diverse voices into the visioning process, especially skeptics. When people help paint the mural, they defend it from graffiti. Tell the hero's journey. Neuroscience shows stories activate mirror neurons, letting listeners experience the narrative as if they were protagonists. Frame your organization's vision as an epic call to adventure, trials, allies, dragons, treasure. Make the audience heroes, not spectators. Case study: Microsoft after Satya. When Satya Nadella took the helm in 2014, Microsoft was profitable but stagnant, internally siloed, externally perceived as yesterday's brand. Nadella's vision statement didn't reference operating systems or device market share. It was simply to empower every person in every organization on the planet to achieve more. Notice the audacity: every person, and the humility: empower. Critically, Nadella lived the vision. He replaced cutthroat internal competition with a culture of growth mindset. Borrowed from psychologist Carol Dweck, he invested heavily in cloud accessibility tools and open-source collaborations, previously unthinkable for a company famous for proprietary code. Within 5 years, Microsoft quadrupled its market cap. The uncertain world of tech hadn't become less chaotic, Microsoft had become more visionary. 6. The neuroscience of clarity. Let's dip briefly into biology. The human brain's limbic system governs emotion and decision-making. The neocortex handles language and analysis. Vision, delivered as story and metaphor, bypasses the neocortex's skepticism and speaks to the limbic system's longing. That's why Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I have a dream, not I have a plan." In times of uncertainty, the amygdala, our threat detector, is on high alert. Clear, purpose-driven communication quiets the amygdala and releases dopamine and oxytocin, neurochemicals associated with motivation and trust. Said differently, articulate a compelling vision, and you chemically reduce your team's anxiety. That's not rhetoric, that's physiology. 7. Leading through paradox. Courage and humility. Visionary leadership in uncertain times is paradoxical. You must project confidence while admitting vulnerability, chart direction while embracing feedback, move fast while thinking long-term. Think of New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern during the 20s. She held Facebook Live sessions from her kitchen in a sweatshirt, kids' toys visible in the background. She communicated honestly, "We don't have all the answers yet, but here is what we do know, and here is why we're acting." That blend of courage and humility fostered one of the world's most unified national responses. Humility without courage becomes paralysis. Courage without humility becomes arrogance. Visionary steps require both feet. Interactive exercise. Your vision headlines: if you have paper handy, draw 3 columns. Title the first headlines 1 year from today, the second headlines 5 years from today, and the third headlines 20. Under each, write what you hope the front page of a newspaper would say about your organization's impact on the world. Avoid numbers at first, focus on human outcomes. Local school graduation rate up 15% is good. Hope returns to formerly dropout-plagued neighborhoods is better. Next, circle themes that appear across multiple horizons. Those are likely core elements of your vision. Finally, translate one theme into a simple, vivid sentence that a teenager could understand. Congratulations, you have drafted the seed of a visionary statement. Turning vision into everyday behavior. A vision plastered on a lobby wall is decoration. A vision alive in everyday behavior is culture. 3 levers turn words into habit. Symbols. The US Navy SEALs ring a brass bell outside the barracks. Anyone who quits training walks over and rings. The symbol reminds recruits that commitment is a choice. What tangible artifact in your office could symbolize your vision? Systems. If your value is innovation but your expense policy punishes experiments that fail, your systems betray you. Align incentives, hiring criteria, and recognition programs with the future you preach. Stories. Celebrate micro-examples of vision in action. When a frontline employee makes a tough call that embodies purpose, broadcast that story at town hall meetings. Stories socialize norms faster than memos. 10. Dealing with dissent and fear. Every visionary journey attracts doubters. That's healthy. Dissent surfaces blind spots, but fear masquerading as logic can sabotage momentum. Here's how to respond. Listen for value. Often dissenting voices protect a value you also hold, perhaps stability or equity. Acknowledge the underlying concern before debating tactics. Run pilots. Small-scale prototypes lower stakes. giving skeptics data instead of promises. Invite accountability partners. Ask the loudest critic to co-lead a pilot. Shared ownership converts cynics into guardians. Remember, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. If people are passionately critical, at least they care. Harness that energy. When vision meets crisis, a real-time stress test. Let's revisit March 20th. Imagine you ran a chain of boutique hotels. Occupancy plummeted to single digits overnight. A purely financial lens would dictate mass layoff. But you held a vision of creating sanctuaries away from home that nourished the soul. Instead of furloughing staff, you pivoted, opened rooms free to exhausted healthcare workers, repurposed kitchens to cook meals for food-insecure family. Revenue was still awful that quarter, but loyalty soared. Employees worked reduced hours yet felt amplified pride. 2 years later, as travel rebounded, your bookings outpaced competitors by 30% because guests remembered who stood for something bigger than profit. Crisis does not kill vision. It reveals the integrity of vision. 12. Tools. Vision sprints and decision filters. Practical tool. Number 1. Vision sprints. 2-day offsites where cross-functional teams refuse to talk about the present. They immerse in future-back thinking, designing customer experiences that seem sci-fi. Their output is not a roadmap, but a strategic narrative that reinflates imagination. Tool number 2, decision filters. Write 3 questions derived from your vision. For Patagonia, one might be, does this decision help save our home planet? For a hospital, does this improve patient dignity? Leaders review every budget line, every marketing campaign through those filters. If the answer is no, the choice is simple: reject, revise, or justify publicly. 13. The role of empathy in visionary leadership. Vision often focuses on outward impact, but it must begin inward with empathy. Seeing and hearing the humans you lead. Empathy does not mean agreeing with every viewpoint. It means understanding the emotional landscape in which your ideas will land. Without empathy, vision can become tyranny, forcing people toward a future they neither understand nor desire. Consider Dr. Frances Hesselbein, former CEO of the Girl Scouts of the US. She spent her first 6 months visiting troops nationwide, asking questions, listening to mothers juggling jobs and volunteer duties, learning the slang of teenage girls. Only after absorbing those stories did she unveil a vision of every girl discovering her leadership potential. Membership skyrocketed because the vision grew from genuine empathy. 14. Technology, AI and the next horizon. We cannot ignore artificial intelligence. AI promises efficiency but threatens to exacerbate inequality and erode meaning. Visionary leaders in 2025 and beyond must articulate not merely whether they will use AI, but why and for whom. Ask, does our deployment of technology amplify human creativity or replace it? Does it create new dignified roles or just cheaper labor? Your employees want reassurance that the future includes them. A clear techno-ethical vision is now table stakes for credibility. 15. Leading yourself first. All leadership is a mirror. If you wrestle with uncertainty at 3:00 a.m., you are not alone. But self-leadership demands you find rituals that renew your own clarity. For me, it's long daily walks, phone off, ideas marinating. For others, it might be journaling, meditation, spiritual practice. The point is, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Vision starts inside before it can illuminate the path for others. 16. A call to adventure. Joseph Campbell observed that every hero crosses a threshold, leaving the known world for the unknown. Leaders today stand on that threshold. The unknown is not a glitch in the simulation. It is the simulation. We are writing history that our children will study. What story do you want them to read? That when uncertainty knocked, we barricaded the door with spreadsheets, or that we flung the door open, invited the stranger in, and learned to thrive in the dance of possibility. 17. A visionary checklist. Before we close, here is a simple checklist you can use tomorrow morning. 1-sentence vision. Can every employee recite it? Values and action. Can you name a decision this week that cost money but upheld a value? Stories shared. Did you tell a story today that illustrated the vision? Listening ritual. Do you have a scheduled forum where dissenting voices feel safe? Personal renewal. Have you blocked time this week to recharge your own clarity? If you can answer yes to all 5, you are walking visionary steps. If not, pick one and start. Progress, not perfection. I leave you with an image. Off the coast of Brittany, France, stands the La Humente lighthouse. In 1989, photographer Jean Guichard captured a now famous image of a massive wave engulfing the lighthouse as the keeper stood calmly at the door. The lighthouse is dwarfed but not destroyed. Its beam continues to slice through the tempest, vision is your lighthouse. Storms will come whether you like it or not. You cannot calm the sea, but you can keep the light burning steadfast, visible, inviting ships to safe passage. Thank you for lending me your minds and hearts today. My hope is that you leave not just with notes, but with renewed conviction that your vision matters, especially now. Go home, gather your teams, point to the hill worth climbing, and take that next courageous step together. Until we meet again, stay curious, stay visionary, and above all, stay human. Thank you.